I want to do the Rev War, but I can't because we already did it in class already. I know, but what? I have a huge fear of tsunamis, and I also don't want to talk about Franz Ferdinand because we already did that in year 7. No, we already covered that. That's not really exactly a day. That wasn't a day either. Dunkirk wasn't a day either. Okay, so hello there, history project time. Yes, another video because it's me. And never expect me to make PowerPoints willingly, guys. It's never gonna happen. So after weeks of actually mentally suffering over what topic to do, I've decided to just talk about Hurricane Katrina, because it's not a tsunami, and it is a day that shook the world, according to Emily.com. So, Hurricane Katrina. What was Hurricane Katrina? Well, it's, goddamn, why do they have to name all the hurricanes? It was a deadly hurricane that crossed over the Gulf of the United States in late August 2005 and is recorded to be one of the most deadliest natural disasters and also the most expensive in the U.S., affecting 8 different areas and killing over 1,800 people, most of these deaths being from Louisiana and Mississippi. The hurricane first started on August 23rd, 2005, out in the ocean until it hit the Gulf Coast of the U.S. on the 29th. By then, it was already identified as a tropical storm, being a Category 3 hurricane by the 27th, reaching about 90,000 square miles and flooding areas like New Orleans in Louisiana and Gulfport in Mississippi. The storm finally ended on August 31st, 2005. However, it wasn't just the storm that was damaging, but the aftermath. Technically, it was whatever. With around 900 reported people missing, there were a lot of severe damages caused to the cities, especially New Orleans, that left people without homes or jobs, and the price to fix all the damages would go well over $150 billion. Over 70 countries pledged donations to help with the damages. Now let's look at some statistics at the fatalities based off the states that Katrina affected. According to the Federal Emergency Management Agency and CNN, the fatalities are Alabama being with 2 fatalities, Florida with 14, Georgia and 2, and Mississippi being with 238, and Louisiana being with 1,577, which is in total 1,833. That's a lot of people, and even more that had to suffer from the aftermath. As I said before, many people lost their jobs and homes, but not even those that were helping them had enough resources for all the survivors. The Superdome, where many people took shelter in New Orleans, were running out of supplies to offer and had to eventually shut themselves off to not let any more refugees in. But even with that, the government didn't help or step in until 5 days later, leaving a lot of people starving and desperate for supplies, some even dying in the process. Some of the short-term effects are the flood that left 80% of New Orleans completely underwater. Okay, maybe not completely, but underwater. Some of the areas being 20 feet deep. There were a lot of casualties and people injured, as well as people going missing or being displaced. Children losing parents and parents not knowing where their children were. But not only that, parts of the environment were also damaged, like 1.3 million acres of forest being destroyed. The economy also plummeted for a while, losing millions of dollars, and now most of the money is used to prepare the city. On the contrary, some of the long-term effects are that Katrina made a lot of damage to New Orleans population, but since 2015 it's been recovering, both population and city. A lot of buildings have been damaged and most were fixed, but some are still remaining unfixed or broken now. Lots of people have developed mental psychological effects like PTSD, anxiety, and depression from the traumatic events like seeing friends and people die or seeing dead bodies. Lots of people were so traumatized that they decided to move away. Also, some families losing permanent housing, and a lot of people had to live in trailers. In conclusion, I consider Hurricane Katrina being a day that shook the world because it ruined a city in the States, with it still being recovering even now. It killed hundreds of people and traumatized and injured more, and it is one of the most iconic hurricanes in the U.S. history, being one of the most costly as well, if not the most costly. Its impacts weren't just short-term, but there were a lot of long-terms as well. And with that, concludes my history project. Not a lot of comedy, I apologize, but I hope you enjoyed this, and that it gives me a good grade. See ya! Miles and flooding areas like New Orleans, Louisiana, and Gulfport, Mississippi. God damn it. Okay. Reaching about 90 square... God. And the police weren't even helping them. They started, like, trying to... Okay, cut out this part with the police. You didn't write anything down about that. Some of the short-term effects of the flood that... God. Some of the short-term effects... that Katrina made a lot of damage to New Orleans population. With some... God damn it. And as someone who has hemophobia, I understand your pain. Katrina, a day that shook the world because it ruined a state in the States. It ruined a state in the States. It ruined a state in the States. Okay.